Nick Ashew here with the DMV.
Has concluded.
The DMVSTREAM.COM player.
Sean Parker along with Nick Iverson.
I always wanted to play volleyball in college.
Cordova trying to dig it out of the board. And they score!
Hello and welcome into another edition of the Prep Zone on DMVSTREAM.com alongside Derek Kramer and Brenton Randolph. I'm Jeremy Huber. Another week of big time action to look back on and to preview this week. Lots of games coming up and of course some exciting ones that we've got to get you all up to date on all over the DMV. Some of the games we'll be looking back at. Big matchup between Westfield and South County. Also, a little bit of an upset between Madison and Stonebridge. A Fairfax battle between Flint Hill and Paul VI. And a matchup between Yorktown and Wakefield, an Arlington battle there. Well, again, we'll go ahead and look at some other important games in the area. The big time matchup between Gonzaga and Georgetown Prep, the two Catholic schools getting together. Also an interesting DC contest as Friendship will battle Woodson, and Robinson at Lake Braddock, a Fairfax County matchup that everyone wants to go ahead and see. If you want to see this show, you see on your screen the ways to go ahead and do it. Lots of ways to watch the Prep Zone. Of course, you can always do it at DMVSTREAM.com. Well, we'll take a quick break, but first we want to go ahead and take a look at how you can get your play included each week on AllMetSports.com.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to an all-new season of Top Plays here at AllMetSports.com and WashingtonPost.com. I'm your host, BJ Kubarulis. Now, as we've done the past 4 seasons, we're continuing our exciting interactive high school football show that allows you, the coaches, players, parents, and fans, and others, to send in your video submissions for ranking in our Top 10 style weekly show. If you want to see your highlight in this show, well, it's as simple as tweeting your boy. I'm at BJ Koob, and you got to remember to hashtag it, All Mets. All right, you can tweet in your Huddle, YouTube, Vimeo, really any video link by Sundays at noon, and we'll consider it for use in the upcoming episode of Top Plays. Now, you got to remember to tune in on Mondays to see if your video made our Top 10 at allmetsports.com. We'll see you soon.
Welcome back into the Prep Zone. Our first game today on the Weekend Rewind. It's a matchup that we saw 2 times last year. One of them a great game, one of them not so great. This time a much better matchup, Derek, as it was Westfield taking on South County.
Oh yeah, this was a rematch of last year's regional playoff game where Westfield ended up winning and going on to win the state championship last year. And as Westfield's senior safety number 6, Joey Free, had 2 key interceptions that really kept the momentum on Westfield's side. Even though South County ran nearly twice as many offensive plays as Westfield, but the Bulldogs refused to buckle down on 4th down. The Stallions turned the ball over on downs 4 times, and Westfield kicker Brian Delaney missed 3 out of 4 field goals, which really put them behind. But Westfield, which has won 15 consecutive games since its Week 2 loss to South County last September, returns home next week to face Montesa Williams Titans, so it should be a good one, but I think Westfield's going to pull it out next week as well.
Yeah, Westfield with a big game here. You see Ramon Johnson with some big plays, and of course we talked about it before. Westfield last year, the 2 teams played early in the season. It was a game that Westfield dropped, had a lot of players suspended. They played in the championship, the 6A North Championship, and Westfield won that one big. So again, interesting way this one kind of broke down. Of course, also in this game, a comeback in the contest as South County, I believe, was down pretty big early.
Yeah, actually, South County scored all 13 of their points in the 4th quarter, so it looked like they could pull off the comeback late. But again, number 6, Joey Free, had 2 key interceptions that really just kept the momentum on Westfield's side and pulled them off. And our player of the game was Nathaniel Chung, who had 19 carries for 79 yards and a touchdown. He was really the catalyst and kept that offense rolling.
And of course, the other key in this game, folks, was that Jack McDaniels, the quarterback for South County, came off the bench for really a 2nd straight game, did it against Briarwoods, led them back in that one, almost led his team back, came on for Michael Salisbury. So maybe a bit of a quarterback controversy for South County, and Jerry Pannoni, though he'll, I'm sure, be able to figure out the right guy under center for his team. Well, let's go ahead and take a look at our second game of the Weekend Rewind. This one is yours, Brenton, as it was a matchup between 2 old Liberty District rivals in Madison and Stonebridge.
Yeah, last year Madison and Stonebridge, they played to a pretty close game. Madison was able to come out with a score of 35-24, and this year's game would go down to the wire as well. As here you see a little bit of a trick play here. John Williams laterals it off to Nick Conforti, but you really wouldn't hear either of their two names too much because Stonebridge really locked them down defensively. Here we've got Donovan Jefferson scoring a touchdown run. That would give Stonebridge the lead there in the third quarter. And of course you got Madison. This was one of the few plays where John Williams was able to come up with it, but they had to rely more on their ground game. And here you see backup running back Nick Quinto plunging in for the touchdown. Stonebridge would try to respond by going deep, but senior safety Sam Kidd was right there. He gets his first interception of the season. So you've got a touchdown by Wiley Counts, and after that you've got another touchdown coming by Nick Quinto. This one would prove to be the difference as Madison would go up with less than 2 minutes left. Last chance here for Stonebridge, 4th down and long. They're going deep, but the pass is broken up, and that would be what would help seal Madison's 19-15 victory.
And it's a big game for this Madison team, and it runs them out to 2-0 on the year. And again, as we've kind of talking to our producer Nick, really Madison, a team that always used to give Stonebridge fits back in the day when they were both in the Liberty District. They end up doing it again. They've just had 2 wins over Stonebridge since 2009. And again, some would say those stats are a little bit misleading, but in this case, not so much because they were playing each other all those years.
Yeah.
But again, a good performance by Nick Quinto in this one.
Oh yeah, I mean, Nick Quinto, he's the backup running back, so he didn't get too many carries, but he absolutely made the most of the carries he had. You see 7 attempts, 35 yards, so that's an average of 5 a carry. And also 2 touchdowns, including the game winner with less than 2 minutes left, and that was a performance good enough to earn my player of the game.
Yeah, and of course the other key in that one, Josh Brees, the running back for Stonebridge, was held around 50 yards, so obviously not his best game.
Oh yeah, no, it was a tough night for both teams really offensively because you saw Madison's passing the ball a lot more against Oakton. They had to rely on their run game, and then Stonebridge, they actually were doing a little bit better passing than they were running this game. So it was a little bit of an inverse of what you might have expected going into the matchup.
Yeah, and again, that worked out for Madison. Their coach, Lenny Schultz, I remember talking to him on my radio show. He was a little bit concerned, but his guys end up going ahead and getting the win. Remember, next game's out for this one. Madison really got a lot of winnable games before their big matchup against South Lakes. That one coming up on October the 14th, where Stonebridge, they've got Chantilly, then a big one coming up for them, Bulldog versus Bulldog, as they'll take on Westfield, the defending 6A champions. Well, let's go ahead and take a look at DMVSTREAM.COM's partnership with USA Football as we broadcast 3 developmental games from Towson University. We continue the weekend rewind, and Brenton, you were at a game where it was that battle of 2 Fairfax private schools as Flint Hill took on Paul VI.
Yeah, that's right. Flint Hill took on Paul VI. This was a pretty exciting matchup as well. Flint Hill jumped on it really early here. As you can see, Walker Venable does a play action, finds his man who breaks not one, not two, but 3 tackles on his way into the end zone for a 30-yard touchdown. Of course, he's got to be pumped up about that play. That was a big play there. And Flint Hill really jumped on Paul VI early. Here you've got Gage Herdman coming up with a big catch over 2 Paul VI defenders. But of course, Paul VI would come back and respond. Here you've got this long run by their running back number 2, Yanni Marios. And then Yale commit Jimmy Chet is going to find his man right here. And his man is going to extend out and sneak the ball inside the pylon for a touchdown. And Paul VI, they really responded even though Flint Hill jumped on him early, but we got another touchdown here coming by Paul VI. But really, Flint Hill just a little bit too much power for Flint Hill. They were able to pull away later in the fourth quarter by a score of 27-14.
And of course, the interesting in this one, we'll get to the player of the game in just a second, but the interesting note in this one was the fact that Jordan Houston, their key running back for Flint Hill, went out early with an injury.
Yeah, he went down with a sprained ankle there in the first half, and really their offense was able to pick right up even though he went down. Their running game was still on point. I think the backup had over 100 yards, but also Walker Venable, who is our player of the game, went 11 for 19, 180 yards and 3 touchdowns. So he was really effective passing the ball. He also had a rushing touchdown of his own. So he was the guy that I thought was the catalyst and got my player of the game.
Yeah, also Mark Lewis, the running back, really stepped into the shoes of Jordan Houston, carried it 19 times for 132 yards, so a big game for him as he was able to fill in. You mentioned Gage Herdman. One of my former players as a youth football coach had 3 sacks in the, yes, really, it is. I got to get that in there, folks. 3 sacks in the contest for Herdman. Flint Hill moves on. They're 1-0 in the season. That was their season opener. They take on Blue Ridge, and they'll go ahead and face off with Collegiate after that. Big one for Paul VI coming up as they've got Episcopal, their first game of the season for the Maroon. So it'll be interesting as they try to get off the schneid 0-2 to go ahead and start the year. Well, one more game to go on our weekend rewind. This one an Arlington battle, and it was you, Derek, as you were taking a look at Yorktown facing off with Wakefield.
Yeah, both teams came in looking for their first victory, so they came in hungry and trying to prove something. And you could see that they were both trying to come out quick out the gates because Wakefield went with a fake punt early in their own end zone, and they didn't capitalize on the fake punts and ended up giving the ball to Yorktown, who quickly capitalized with a 7-yard touchdown run. And that was pretty much the story of the game. Yorktown capitalizing on Wakefield's mistakes, and then the Patriots relied heavily on their running game of number 22, Stevie Picotte, and number 21, Mark Geinzer, both of whom accounted for all 5 touchdowns. And the Yorktown defense really showed up. They accounted for 5 turnovers and held strong to complete the shutout after senior safety Tanner Wall had an interception seal the deal late. And it was a really good matchup where you had quarterback Gavin Anderson here throw a deep ball to Davis Patterson, who made a nice jump ball. And Wakefield, I give it to them, they did compete. Here you go, coming around this corner, and they really did have a good offense at times, but it just, when it came up tough, like Yorktown, they would bend, but they never broke, and it was a really good matchup.
Yeah, and in this contest, again, you mentioned a 35-0 lead that Yorktown jumped out to. Of course, their longtime coach, Bruce Hansen's been there at that school for 31 years for that program and actually shook up his offense a little bit the last few years, so it's good to see for him. Now, your player of the game in this one.
Yeah, it's Stevie Picotte. We had him as our player to watch last week, and he came up big, 12 for 54. Not the most impressive, but he still had it coming through with almost 6 yards a carry and 3 touchdowns, and he really did bring it, though. It was a great game.
Yeah, Pico with that big game there. Of course, Yorktown, they bounced back from their season opening loss to Wilson, the powerhouse in D.C. Wakefield, don't worry too much about the Warriors. They've got games coming up against Washington Lee, also Falls Church. Both those 2 teams 0-2 as well. So hopefully Warriors can get a win and get off the schneid. Very quickly, I want to run down a couple games from Maryland of note. It was Northwest knocking off Seneca Valley 35-23 in the Kings Trophy game. Khalil Owens, the big day there, had 4 touchdowns for the Northwest Jaguars. Also, Oakland Mills beat Reservoir in a big comeback game, 34-28. The Scorpions coming back from 20-0 down to go ahead and get that win as they bounce back from a season opening loss to Glen Elg to move their record to 1-1. Well, we mentioned earlier on in the weekend rewind, the quarterback of Paul VI, Jimmy Check. Well, let's go ahead and take a look as 2010 All-Met Player of the Year Michael Niebrick breaks down game tape of Check. Welcome into another edition of QB Academy. Jeremy Huber joined by Michael Niebrick today. And Mike, got a few quarterbacks we're going to go ahead and take a look at right now. We'll go ahead and check in on a QB that's a local guy in Virginia. It's Jimmy Check of Paul VI.
Yeah, we're going to talk about Jimmy Check, guy from Paul VI, like you mentioned. He's a 6'4", 195-pound guy, big stature quarterback. Really good mobility-wise for a guy his size. Does a good job using his feet, making plays with his feet down the field, extending different plays throughout the course of the pocket. Really smart quarterback. He's committed to play at Yale next year, so a really smart guy in the backfield there that you want, and that's one of the things you look for in young quarterbacks. So a very impressive quarterback for Paul VI.
Yeah, of course, the guy, as you said, going to Yale, got to be a smart guy to end up there. I guess let's go ahead and see what are some of the things that he does well.
So we're going to start off with just showing off his athleticism here on this first clip. And like I mentioned, he does a really good job using his feet to extend plays, whether that be dropping back, not having anybody open, stepping up in the pocket and running. So he does a really nice job using his feet, making big plays down the field, and that's what we're going to go ahead and take a look at here in this first clip. So again, just a simple play, and we're going to just talk about his athleticism here. So he's just going to basically take the snap, takes his drop, and doesn't see anybody open, so he steps up in the pocket, uses that athleticism, and he's a guy who at 6'4" doesn't look like the fastest guy out there, but somehow, you watch throughout the course of these games, he escapes, finds a hole, and then breaks away from the defense. So he has very sneaky speed. But the thing I like most about this play, and one of the things I like about him as a quarterback, is he does a really nice job here, if we can roll it, at moving up in the pocket. A lot of quarterbacks, when they start to feel that pressure, they try and get around it and use their athleticism. He does a nice job here stepping up in the pocket, and that's where you find those lanes as a quarterback to run. His wide receivers pick up nice blocks for him, and like I said, just uses that speed that doesn't look all that fast, but somehow he just finds a way to pull away from defenses. So really good athleticism for a guy his size, really fun to watch running the football.
Good to see him there again, finding a spot and just going when it's there.
Yeah, and he does a really nice job of that, finding different lanes to run up through the pocket in. So this next clip, we're going to switch gears a little bit and talk about his smarts as a quarterback and his coverage recognition here. So I'm not exactly sure, actually watching this clip, what the coverage is. It's a red zone coverage, so it's kind of hard to figure things out. But I think him and I can both agree that he's going to have man-to-man coverage to the boundary there. And his slot receiver is going to be running a slant route, which is one of the best man-beater routes that they have. So we're going to go ahead and start this. And he knows that he's going to be reading that outside linebacker. He knows he's going to that slot. So he has to read that outside linebacker, how fast he buzzes out, and decide what kind of throw he's going to do from there. If he throws it too late, the DB is going to break on the ball. If he throws it too early, that's where you see interceptions happen with that outside linebacker stepping in and making the catch. So if we run it here in slow motion, he's going to keep his eye on that outside linebacker. He sees him fly out, and he does a really nice job setting his feet and throwing the ball right off that outside linebacker's ear, buzzing it right past him, and then putting a really accurate football on his wide receiver. Makes a good play, really good red zone route, and just showing off his coverage recognition there and showing off his accuracy.
And again, a really impressive throw here, as you said, because that guy, it's so quick getting out there, seeing that linebacker, but knowing exactly where he is and getting it by him.
Yeah, it's very tough for all ages of quarterbacks to read that guy. You know the slant route's going to be there with that man coverage, so now you have to read that next level defender, and that's taking the play to the next step as a quarterback, reading that next defender and making sure that he can't step in the play, and making sure that that defender doesn't break on the ball. So like I said, he's a really smart quarterback. You see plays like that all over his film, so really impressive when you watch him kind of read different defenders for his throw cues. So this next clip here, just kind of showing off his gunslinger mentality, and I say that because when I'm watching his tape, he's one of those quarterbacks that isn't afraid to throw the ball into any window, whether it's tight, whether it's wide open, doesn't care. If he likes it, he's going to throw it. So let's go ahead and run this here, and he does a nice job at feeling the pressure come up, knows that defensive end lost contained, so he escapes outside of the pocket. Now, if we go back to the start of the play here, and here we go, we're going to roll it. He does a nice job here, feeling the pressure, like I said, escaping, but he keeps his eyes down the field to find his wide receiver, and then does a little Drew Brees-esque jump throw, kind of showing off that gunslinger mentality that he has, not afraid to throw it into different windows, not afraid to throw it anywhere on the field in any kind of body angle. So again, something that Drew Brees does a lot, that little jump throw to make passes down the field. He does it there, and he does it a lot throughout courses of games. Again, that gunslinger mentality, not afraid to make throws and let his guys make plays for him. So a fun quarterback to watch. Yale has themselves a good player. So very interested to see how he does throughout the course of the season this year.
And interestingly, as an old defensive end, there was nothing I disliked more than the quarterback who would reverse out. It may just slow down just a little bit, and I'm sure Jimmy Check that helps him a little bit, making sure that he keeps that pass rush off him when he is playing for Paul the Sticks. Again, Jimmy Check, our latest subject on QB Academy. For Mike, I'm Jeremy. Catch all the episodes of QB Academy at DMV Stream. Now time for the weekly fast forward, and game number one, an interesting one, as it's two Catholic schools, two longtime rivals, the Jesuit Gridiron Classic, as Gonzaga takes on Georgetown Prep. Prep comes this one undefeated. Gonzaga, an early season loss to McDonough. Guys, this game goes all the way back to 1891, the first time it was played. We believe it's the 76th meeting. It was dormant from 1988 to 2001. And by the way, it benefits the Washington Jesuit Academy, where again it was they take low-income students ages grades 5 through 8 and help them out to go ahead and get a good chance to continue their education. So again, a good cause for this game as well. In this matchup, a couple guys to look out for Gonzaga. Of course, it's got to be the mighty might himself, Tyree Randolph. He's the running back for the Purple Eagles, and of course comes into this game, had such a good year last year. Really a guy to watch in this game. On the other side of things for Georgetown Prep, Owen Wright, the Hoyas running back. He's another guy on par on the other side of things. So should be interesting to see some of the highlights from last year's game. It was a 28-0 win for Gonzaga in that contest. The last Prep win in the matchup all the way back in 2011. So the Eagles have really dominated this one, but Georgetown Prep, of course, off of a really good season last year, hoping for a better outcome this time around. You see it right there. Tyree Randolph, our player to watch for the Purple Eagles. 26 touchdowns last year. Not the biggest guy, but he's able to go ahead and get the job done. We also mentioned our player to watch for Georgetown Prep. It's Owen Wright. You look at the numbers there again, though, he can do some things for this Prep team. So let's go ahead and take a look at our picks for this one. And again, really, I think we're pretty much unanimous on this one. I know I went with Gonzaga in this one.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, I had to go Gonzaga. It's going to be a great running back matchup, though, with Owen Wright and Tyree Randolph, though. So I think Tyree Randolph and Gonzaga is going to pull it off this year, but it's going to be a good one.
Yeah, I'm going with Gonzaga as well. Like you said, Georgetown Prep hasn't won since, 2011? So it's been a little bit of a while, and I think that streak will probably keep going, thanks to, of course, Tyree Randolph, who, in addition to his 26 touchdowns that you mentioned, had over 1,800 yards rushing in the season. So, I mean, it doesn't have to be just touchdowns. You can just move the chains and be very effective. So,
yeah, very, very good player. And Tyree Randolph, we'll see if Owen Wright and the Hoyas are up to the challenge in this contest. Well, another interesting matchup. This one we played in D.C. proper, as it's Friendship Collegiate versus H.D. Woodson, Derek.
Yeah, so both teams come in undefeated. Woodson is 2-0 at home, while Friendly is 2-0 as a visitor, so it should be a pretty even matchup. And Friendship is averaging 29 points a game, while Woodson is averaging 39 points a game. So I expect a shootout this game. It should be a really good one. My player to watch is right here, Charles Peeler, coming up #1. He's a receiver and cornerback, playing both ways, and he's really all over the field. He always seems to be in the right place at the right time. Here he comes with a nice catch and a little shake and bake, and he's a real solid player. He was a junior last year and had an unbelievable season. His coaches rave about him every time after the game, and I really expect a lot from him. On the other side, Christian Braswell is a senior cornerback wide receiver. Braswell, and there he is getting a pick six, taking it to the house, and I expect a really good game from him as well, and it should be a good one.
Yeah, of course, these two teams both ended up in the DCSA playoffs last year, both losing to Gonzaga. Friendship went down in a semifinal matchup against the Eagles. H.D. Woodson, they went down in the championship game. Of course, both these two teams, again, hoping to go a little bit farther and maybe get some wins in those. But again, they're trying to get through and other things that they're looking for. Again, quickly run down those players to watch again.
Yeah, I've got Christian Braswell for Friendship. He had a big pick 6 against Carroll last week, and I think he's a real big player to watch. And on the other side, we've got Charles Peeler from Woodson. He's all-around great player. He had a 80-yard punt return for a touchdown against Fairmont Heights, and he had 3 touchdowns. It'll be a good one. Yeah,
and of course, the thing to watch in this one, folks, is the fact you look at who these two teams have played. FCA with some very good wins. Pilati, also Carroll, and beating Eastern, one of the teams in the DCIAA. Woodson, of course, we know how talented they are, but their wins against St. Mary's Riken, lower team in the WCAC, Fairmont Heights, lower team out in Maryland. So it should be interesting to see. But again, a battle for DC, maybe the two best teams in DC. We will see after Friday night. Well, our third matchup in this in our weekly fast forward, it's a contest between two Fairfax County schools. Brenton, it'll be Robinson taking on Lake Braddock.
Yeah, Robinson taking on Lake Braddock. I expect that one to be a pretty fun matchup. Last year, Lake Braddock actually came away with a close 21-14 victory over Robinson. So for my players to watch, I'm going to go, starting with Robinson, we'll go with their running back, Reed Scarborough. Robinson is well known for their rushing attack, so you could probably pick any of Robinson's running backs as somebody that's a player to watch. But I went in particular with Scarborough because last week he had 3 rushing touchdowns. Also, he is a two-way player, and he had an interception last week as well. So he's somebody that you have to watch out for on both sides of the ball. For Lake Braddock, I went with their senior running back, Ibrahim Mansoure, who has a kickoff return for a touchdown in each of his first 2 games and had a running touchdown against Annandale as well. So he's a weapon that you really have to look out for regardless of where he is on the field.
We see the players to watch again. Mansoure for Lake Braddock, again, doing so many good things back there in the backfield for Lake Braddock. And of course, also on the other side of things for Robinson, Reed Scarborough. Big time stuff for them early in the season. Guys, your picks in this one. We'll go ahead and start with you, Brenton.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and go with Lake Braddock. Lake Braddock's at home, so I figured the home field advantage should give them a boost. Also, I feel like if Lake Braddock can get out to an early lead and force Robinson into some passing situations, that might take them out of their comfort zone, and that could end up being the difference in a matchup like this.
Quick pick for you, Derek.
Yeah, I'm going with the home team, Lake Braddock. Their defense always goes against and takes away the run game, so looking for Lake Braddock to win. I'm
going to go with Lake Braddock as well. We talked to their old quarterback, Michael Niebrick, said, hey, if they have a running game now, it should help, probably will, against a time-consuming offense for this Robinson Rams squad. So that's going to do it for us today on the Prep Zone. For Derek, for Brenton, I'm Jeremy. We'll see you next week.